warm welcome. 1st of February, budget 2023 is out. Reactions are in, and in case you missed anything about the budget or everything about the budget, over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to take you through everything you need to know about this budget. What were the hits? What were the misses? Essentially, if you were busy working through the day, this is the bulletin where we tell you all. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Let's begin with the headlines. All boxes were ticked as Finance Minister left more money in the pockets of the middle class to spend, with major tweaks in personal income tax rates and incentives in the new tax regime. The street took a sigh of relief, but the euphoria over budget was overshadowed by steep sell-off in the Adani Group shares. Industry welcomes the budget, calling it growth-oriented, with measures to boost capex and prudent fiscal outlook. Prime Minister calls it Amrit Kal budget, promises a progressive India with measures to boost green growth and investments in AI. A year before election, budget lays down path for rural growth with promise of an agriculture accelerator fund and also greater allocation for rural housing. All right, but apart from those headlines, there was something for everybody almost in this budget. It was a budget for all, truly, coming just a year before those elections. For tax-paying professionals, budget offered relief of increased exemptions. The tax exemption also removed in insurance policies with premium over 5 lakh. Budget 2023 also made almost every payment abroad that you make costlier. Even the fully imported cars, including electric vehicles, will get more expensive. This and a lot more on what Nirmala Sitharaman, the Finance Minister, announced. Here are the highlights.
Currently, those with income up to 5 lakh do not pay any income tax in both old and new regimes. I propose to increase the rebate limit to 7 lakhs in the 75th year of our independence. The world has recognized the Indian economy as a bright star. Our current year's economic growth is estimated to be at 7%. It is notable that this is the highest among all the major economies. This is in spite of the massive slowdown globally caused by COVID-19 and the war. The Indian economy is therefore on the right track, and despite a time of challenges, heading towards a bright future. Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav, Mahila Samman Bachat Patra. For commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, a one-time new small savings scheme, Mahila Samman Savings Patra or Savings Certificate, Mahila Samman Savings Certificate will be made available for a 2-year period up to March 2025. This will offer deposit facility up to 2 lakh in the name of a woman or girls for a tenure of 2 years at fixed interest rate of 7.5% with partial withdrawal option. Senior citizens. The maximum deposit limit for senior citizens savings scheme will be enhanced from 15 lakh to 30 lakhs of rupees. Health, education and skilling. 157 new nursing colleges will be established in co-location with the existing 157 medical colleges established since 2014.
So those were the highlights, but the budget essentially left more money in the pockets of the middle class to spend. Paying lower taxes would mean spending more on consumption, from durables to that holiday tour that you've been putting off. But it also made almost every payment abroad, however, much more costlier. On capital gains, there was a lot of expectation, but no surprises really. But let's go across to Kaizad now, who takes you through how Budget 2023 will be changing your household budget.
Thank you, Sonal. So big changes have come in place today for the new income tax regime. Number one, the rebate has gone up for those earning income up to 7 lakh, up from 5 lakh earlier. The exemption limit also has been increased for the new income tax regime from 2.5 lakh earlier to 3 lakh now. The most important change over here, Sonal, is that the new income tax regime has been made the default income tax regime in which you need to file your returns. If you need to file your returns under the old income tax regime, then you need to make it clear when filing your returns. The tax slabs also have been rejigged. In fact, they've been tightened. The number of tax slabs have gone down from 5 to earlier 6, and the peak surcharge rate for 30% tax slab has also been brought down from 37% to 25%, which means that your effective tax rate has now come down from 42% to about 39%. In other moves in personal finance, as far as your money is concerned, a new investment scheme has been proposed to be introduced for women savers. Now, this investment scheme would earn women savers and investors about 7.5%. This scheme is available on a temporary basis only for the next 2 years, and the tenure of this scheme also is of 2 years. Further, senior citizens also have something to take away from this budget. Now, the senior citizen savings scheme, which is a hugely popular savings scheme, there was a cap of investment of 15 lakh. Now, this cap has gone up to 30 lakh, which means that senior citizens can invest up to 30 lakh in the scheme. Monthly income scheme, similarly, cap has also gone up for single holders as well as joint holders. And just a couple of quick other measures that the Finance Minister announced to reduce the tax arbitrage and to ensure that high net worth individuals do not basically escape paying tax by investing in insurance policies. Any non-death benefit in an insurance policy where you pay a premium of more than rupees 5 lakh per annum, maturity proceeds of those policies will be taxed. And last but not the least, if you sell a capital asset and if you reinvest a capital asset in property, then your capital gains is restricted to an amount of rupees 10 crore. Over to you, Sonal.
All right. Thanks, Kaizad, for all those updates. Clearly, a lot of people will be now back talking to their CAs, anticipating what exactly is going to happen to their income tax. So much really to unpack from that. We spoke about personal tax. The other big headline actually came in from the markets. All boxes ticked, but markets ended up with modest gains. Stock market started on a cautious note but remained buoyant as the day progressed with the budget speech. Finally, the markets did not rally much, considering everything that the market really wished for was pretty much granted. However, the rout in Adani stocks really stood out on an otherwise optimistic day. Mahalakshmi now joins us for the very latest on that. Mahalakshmi, it was quite a volatile, in a way, market, if one can really call it that. No one big trend emerging, but ending up on a rather cautious note.
Thanks, Sonal. From a market perspective, it's been a fantastic budget. There were three big things that the market was really hoping for, wishing for. First is a good fiscal deficit number, a credible number, and some kind of a reassurance that we will be on that fiscal glide path she defined last year. On both counts, she did not disappoint. The fiscal deficit number for next year has come in at 5.9%, exactly on expected lines. She also reaffirmed the fact that we will get to below 4.5% by FY 25-26, which is what she had talked about last year. The second point that the market was looking for was a strong capital spending number. And that also she is not disappointed. In fact, the market is pleasantly surprised because the best estimate for capital spending increase was not more than 20 to 25%, but it has now come in at 10 lakh crores, which is a huge jump, about 37% compared to this year's revised estimates. Also, combining the fact that there is also a 1.5 lakh crore interest-free 50-year loan to states, that is coming at 1.3 lakh crore, which is also a 30% jump. So overall, capital expenditure budget is very impressive for next year. And the third thing the market was looking for was some kind of a boost to consumption. That also gets taken care of because of the tinkering in the tax slabs. Everybody gets a little more money in the pocket, and that should spur consumption. And one bad news that the market was expecting was some tinkering around the capital gains tax. That has not happened, and that is a big relief for the markets. Overall, everything that the market wished for has been granted. No negative news. But unfortunately, today, the Adani stocks really stole the thunder from the markets. Otherwise, we should have seen the market end on a much higher note. But that didn't happen because the Adani Group stocks really fell very sharply today.
It fell flatly indeed, and that's what's got the market sort of closing on not such a high note after all. But we spoke about personal finance, we looked at markets. Let's look at the overall economic position now. As the last union budget before the general election, this year's budget was widely expected to be populist. Now, despite the headline income tax tweaks, it stuck to the path of fiscal prudence. The focus remained on capital expenditure, especially for asset creation, which would provide a medium-term boost to the overall economic growth. And who better to speak about that than Lata, who joins us live now. Lata, take us through what were the key takeaways for you?
Thank you, Sonal, for that. From a macro standpoint, I think this budget deserves a AAA. That's what the economists say. And I'll tell you why. The first ask of the economists was that the fiscal deficit should be brought down from 6.4% to under 6%. They would have perhaps liked 5.8, but 5.9% is also pretty close to the market expectation. So that's the first big thumbs up. The second big thumbs up comes from the fact that it is all based on realistic assumptions. The nominal GDP is expected to grow by 10.5%. On the street, the average comes out to about 10%. Growth is expected to be 6% real GDP and another 4% inflation. So 10% is what most people will work with. The other important, or rather perhaps I said AAA. First A is for fiscal deficit, second A is for realistic assumptions, the third A is for this huge capex thrust. A 10 lakh crore capex spend, 33% more than last year's or more than this year, FY23 capital expenditure is a damn good number. There isn't that much of private capex. It's just about rising at the moment, and then exports is a bit of a headwind because the global economy is slowed down. So government actually is the only stimulator. So the fact that the government is going to spend a lot on capital expenditure is a very big boost for the economy. And we did see stocks like L&T run up today, primarily because of this thrust on capex. And the capex is being planned fairly intelligently. There is a lot of expenditure on railways, which of course is needed. It improves productivity. And secondly, there is a lot of emphasis on urban infrastructure. In fact, like the RIDF, the Rural Infrastructure Development Fund, they have started a UIDF, an Urban Infrastructure Development Fund. Okay, so if it's a AAA on all these areas, where are the doubts? Actually, there aren't so many doubts. My one doubt would be on whether this borrowing program at 15.4 lakh crore, 4 lakh crore is going to be borrowed from the market. That is as per the market expectation. But it could get a little tough if the states also borrowed a lot this year, and secondly, if the insurance companies don't come in and buy bonds. What happened in FY23 was insurance companies bought a lot of bonds because there were a lot of people buying guaranteed products. But now there are some disadvantages coming in for insurance companies by way of taxes. And so it's possible that insurance companies will not come in and buy bonds. That could make the borrowing a little tough. But we'll have to wait and see. The second slight question mark you can put is whether the government has the wherewithal to spend 10 lakh crore on capex. You know, even this year they've had to reduce it. They said 7.5 lakh crore, they've reduced it to 7.3 lakh crore. The expenditure secretary said that's because the states didn't spend enough. The states may find it a problem next year as well. You know, it's not very easy to identify projects, bid them out, buy the land, get tenders. It takes, expenditure needs bandwidth. So will they succeed in 10 lakh crore? You could raise a little bit of a question mark, but let's wait and see. As of now, you will have to say it's a triple A for the budget from a macro standpoint.
All right. Thank you, Lata, so much for that perspective. Let's move on now from that to what's the latest in commodities. Now, gold rates, another big highlight for the day. It climbed to a new lifetime high of 58,060 per 10 grams on MCX. In fact, the gold future contract for February 2023 started rising amid the budget speech of the Finance Minister and went on to climb its record high by the time she had finished her speech in Parliament. But while gold was boosting, another rather controversial asset class, crypto, got a deafening silence from the Finance Minister. No mention of crypto at all, something which was perhaps one of the biggest highlights from last year. Now, Manisha takes you through what exactly is the googly there.
Thank you, Sonal, for that. Well, there was some thumbs up and some thumbs down as well, but mostly it was a good budget as the industry has been reacting. Some disappointment clearly coming in from the gold industry as there was no duty cut on gold imports. Instead, what you saw was that silver also was brought in parity to gold and platinum at 15%. So silver dore from 9.2% are now at 14.35% if you want to import them into the country. The big thumbs up was from the lab-grown diamonds, where clearly the government has been looking at new technology supports and green initiatives. So this comes within that as well. So lab-grown diamonds are also seen as high employment space. And what we are looking at is a reduction in the customs duty from 5% to nil when it comes to the seeds of lab-grown diamonds. Moving on, and it was about digital gold as well. And there is a lot of promotion initiatives that we have seen for this one. What will happen now is that when you convert physical gold into electronic gold receipt and vice versa, it will not attract any capital gains at all. Rubber is another thing that the markets were looking at for, because there has been a duty anomaly here which has been corrected. So the natural rubber duty has been at 25%, while the compounded rubber duty has been at 10%, which now has been hiked to 25%, making this clear. And this would now curb any circumvention of duty that the markets had been reporting. Cotton, while we did not see anything for textiles, but for cotton, there is enhancing productivity for extra long staple cotton. While India is the largest producer for cotton, but we have a dearth or shortage of long staple cotton. So clearly government moving in that direction. They will adopt cluster-based and value chain approach via PPPs. And there also is going to be a collaboration between farmers, state industry from inputs to market linkages. So clearly making a fencing there when it comes to this commodity. Millets, well, this is an international year of millets and India is at the epicenter or the core of it. We are a major producer and a second exporter when it comes to millets, and there's a variety of millets that we produce. So what is happening is, while India will continue to allocate funds for startups who are into millets, but apart from that, Indian Institute of Millet Research at Hyderabad will now be center of excellence. Moving on, and within agriculture itself, the FPOs will continue to be supported. This is something that the government has been doing for some budgets now. In addition to that, 10 million farmers will adopt natural farming, and PM Pranam to promote alternate fertilizer in states also is something that goes along with these 2 points there. Markets also will look at the agriculture fund, which will now bring in modern techniques to get innovation to meet farm challenges. Well, when you look at digitization, technology, making things online, farmers and agriculture also is being brought into this. And then there is an agriculture accelerator fund which will boost the agri startups. So some fund allocation going in that direction as well. Decentralized storage capacity is something that could happen perhaps this year itself. You know, it takes time from the time a strategy is made, funds are allocated, and then they are implemented on ground. But this is one such move that will perhaps get implemented in this year itself. And this will also help farmers store produce, realize remunerative price through the sale at appropriate time. So a lot of thumbs up, as I said, coming in from the space.
All right, with that, it's time for a very quick break, but don't go anywhere. Coming up on the other side, we'll bring you budget in pictures. What happened inside and outside Parliament? Come back for that. Welcome back. Now let's take a quick check on the impact of Budget 2023 in the world of deals and investment climate. Our deals editor, Ashwin Mohan, joins us for the very latest. Ashwin, what's the key hits and misses over there?
Thanks for that, Sonal. As far as Budget 2023 is concerned, there are several aspects which one can look at when it comes to the impact that it will have on the overall deals climate when it comes to private equity, mergers and acquisition activity, as well as equity capital market deals, and of course the overall investment climate. Now, one big focus of the budget speech was the entire thrust on green energy, green mobility. So there is a shift, a serious shift towards clean energy, and that many deal makers believe will augur well. Because that means that production capacities will have to go up. The signal is very clear from the government. The sector, of course, has seen a lot of activity in the past as well. Several big-ticket renewable energy platforms have been acquired, and many deal makers believe that this will, in fact, provide a boost to deal making in the renewable energy or the clean energy segment. So that's number one. Number two, there's also something on the very key that has come up on the legal front, and that's the introduction of a voluntary settlement scheme as far as settling contractual disputes with the government is concerned. And these are cases wherein, there might be an arbitral award that has been given by a court. Point number three, when it comes to ease of doing business, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also pointed out that there are several thousand compliances, in fact 39,000 of them, that have been reduced. There are also several laws, almost 3,400 of them, that have been decriminalized. And all this is also going to provide a boost to the overall business environment because if there are lesser laws, lesser compliances, that just makes it smoother for the average foreign investor. Then you have the controversial aspect. There was a scare in the market. What if there could be a tinkering of the long-term capital gains regime? That hasn't happened. That was a bit of a relief from the market's point of view. A few other aspects also on which the budget was silent. Overseas direct listings, many believe that there are still certain companies that could be better valued overseas despite the depth of the Indian markets. FDI caps, in the past we have seen budgets sort of liberalizing and hiking up the FDI caps, say in sectors like insurance. We haven't seen that in this year's budget. And also not much mention as far as the disinvestment roadmap is concerned. But one very key aspect on the deal front, Sonal, and that's the entire definition of what constitutes strategic disinvestments. That's been sort of broadened or clarified, and the budget fine print says that there is a strategic disinvestment if the government lands up in a position wherein its shareholding falls to below 51%, and B, there is a transfer of control to the buyer. So that aspect has also been specified. So that, in a nutshell, are some of the hits and misses as far as the deal street impact is concerned. Back to you, Sonal.
All right, thanks for that, Ashwin, breaking down all those numbers and deals there for us. But let's look at, last but not the least, infrastructure stocks also that zoomed in today's trade after Nirmala Sitharaman's announcement on hike in capex by a steep 33% for the next fiscal year. Rachita Prasad takes you through all the key announcement in the infra space.
Thanks, Sonal. So what's the government doing to improve infrastructure? Here are the top 10 things that the budget had for the energy and infrastructure sector. The first, capital expenditure for 2023-24 has been increased by 33% to rupees 10 lakh crore. So the Finance Minister announced a steep increase in capital investment outlay for a third year in a row. This is a big number and, might I say, slightly higher than what was expected. The second development is the moratorium on the 50-year interest-free loan that's given to state governments has been increased by another year. Government has also decided to continue this to kind of boost the investment that state governments are doing on the infrastructure sector. And this, of course, will also have a compounding impact on infrastructure development. The third development is the highest ever capex for railways with an outlay of 2.40 lakh crore rupees for FY23. It's, of course, a big number, and companies building railways, railway tracks, wagons, trains, companies which are involved in electrification and signal system will benefit from this. Of course, this is also good news for Aam Aadmi as it promises better connectivity. Urban Infrastructure Development Fund of rupees 10,000 crore per year to be set up. Now, this is a welcome move for the capital-intensive infrastructure sector. And a lot of details will trickle down soon, but a big start for sure. The fifth biggest development would be the outlay of the renewable energy, which has been increased by a 48% to rupees 10,222 crores. The sixth announcement is rupees 35,000 crore of priority capital investments towards green transition and net zero objectives and energy security by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Now, this is an interesting announcement. It indicates that the government is now looking at a broad-based growth in clean energy, and they're looking at different ways of reducing carbon emission. The next important announcement comes from the government on battery energy storage systems, where they have said that around a capacity of 4,000 megawatt hours would be given viability gap funding. Now, this is something that the industry has been asking for, just to make renewable energy projects more viable. This would go a long way, and the announcement itself is a big positive. The eighth announcement that we thought was very interesting was the interstate transmission system for evacuation of grid integration of 13 gigawatts of renewable energy from Ladakh. So this is basically, this will be constructed at an investment of 20,700 crores. This includes central support of around rupees 8,300 crores. This is a very significant project because it will boost the energy, renewable energy output in the country, and could go a long way in kind of linking it with the green hydrogen plans that we have in the country. The ninth most important thing announced in the budget was the outlay under the regional connectivity scheme UDAN, which has been doubled to 1,200 crores. With this, the government plans to set up 50 new airports, helipads, water drones. So it's a big plan. We'll have to see how it is executed, but a big boost there as well. The final 10th announcement that was interesting is regarding green hydrogen mission. Green hydrogen has been in the limelight ever since the government has indicated its intent to become a leader in the space. Although there were no specific announcements as such, because the green hydrogen policy has already been announced and details are being worked out, the Finance Minister said that the government will focus on this space to reduce dependence on fossil fuel imports. These are the top 10 developments from the budget on energy and infra space. Now, we will need to see how this works out. We will have to wait and watch and see how this is executed. Over to you, Sonal.
All right, thanks for that, Rachita. So with that, you've heard all our editors take you through the key highlights in different sectors as we try to sum up the entire day for you in this one bulletin. But how about not just summing it up on Moneycontrol, but in a bit of a funny control way as well? Also in our studios through the day, we had finfluencers, we had RIAs, and we also had a very funny man, a former NGA, MBA, beg your pardon, and now comedian, wrote his own piece on the budget. Check it out.
So, I just wanted to tell you guys, I got laid off from a consulting firm in 2009. Oh. Yeah. And then 6 years later, I did a stand-up comedy show for the same audience. Woo! ताली बजा सकते हो, कोई problem नहीं. So that's a bit like dancing at your ex-girlfriend's wedding and also getting paid for it. Now in this budget, I'm sure there have been a lot of questions. There's one question everyone's been asking over and over and over. I'm like, what is there in this budget for the middle class? Right? Middle class के लिए इस budget में क्या है? So today I'm going to tell you something. I am also middle class from South Bombay. अरे बोलना पड़ता है यार, India, everybody wants to be middle class, right? Like nobody says, oh, we're not poor, okay, we are lower middle class. No, we're not rich, we are upper middle class. And I'm sure we have like a side upper and a side lower as well, right? So I've been wondering, okay, somebody asked, what is this middle class? I think the middle class is an illusion. I think the middle class is like that person who's a part of your project group who never does any work. You have never seen them. but somehow their name is always there on the project report. देखो जो लोग इस जोक पे नहीं हंस रहे ना, they are the ones who do all the work. Now, speaking of work, I understand there was a lot of discussion also about this tax on cigarettes, right? Yeah. I can see the sadness in some people. I don't even have to ask who is a smoker. दुख से ही मुझे पता चल रहा है. दुख के अलावा और बात करने की ज़्यादा मतलब. And I understand it's called that the calamity, national calamity cess has increased to 16%. Which means, quite frankly, if you're a smoker, the cess is the calamity. It's so challenging, man. Like, अगर ये पहले बताया होता मुझे, तो instead of investing in shares before the budget, I would have invested in cigarette packets. Yeah, I stepped out. So before the show, I went to the cigarette guy and I asked him, ये budget में भी जो change announce किया ना, ये कब implement होएगा? He said 3-4 दिन में. तो said, अच्छा ये 10 रुपए की इंडीमेंट अब 12 रुपए की हो जाएगी. इसलिए मैंने शो के पहले ऑलरेडी 10 सिगरेट मार लिए. In case you see me fainting or falling here, don't worry, that's just nicotine poisoning. There's a good chance I might collapse altogether in the middle of this segment. Don't worry, the producer is concerned. I've told the producer if I collapse in the middle of the show, na, उस टाइम पे Nicotex का ad चला दें.
No smoking ads on Moneycontrol, please.
नहीं, Nicotex is the product to quit smoking. तो brand plug भी हो जाएगा, right? मतलब MBA करने का कुछ तो फायदा होना चाहिए, guys, right? And then we have this whole thing about layoffs, right? It's so challenging, you know. And sometimes people be thinking, यार, मैंने IT की नौकरी की, और उसके पहले इंजीनियरिंग की डिग्री की. आई डोंट नो आप हंस क्यों रहे, मैं सिर्फ फैक्ट्स स्टेट कर. अब वहां ले ऑफ चल रहे हैं. अब मैं फाइनेंस में MBA कर रहा हूं. अब 2 साल बाद जब प्लेसमेंट्स होगा तो अगर वहां पे भी ले ऑफ हो जाएंगे तो क्या करेंगे. मतलब हमारे लिए कुछ है इस बजट में? ओवर एजुकेटेड, ओवर क्वालिफाइड बेरोजगार इंसान के लिए कोई स्कीम है? एंड देन यू रियलाइज, हाँ, HR में नौकरी अभी तक मिल रही है. See, I can crack the HR jokes because I'm not working anymore, as you can imagine, right? It's a pretty challenging time, right? I also read some very interesting provisions. The government said that we want to promote AI now, you know? Like, make AI in India, okay? Make AI work for India. I was like, sir, ये India है. We can make AI stop working also. We can make artificial intelligence also sound unintelligent. Like, I think 50% of Indian men are using ChatGPT for what purpose? To generate opening lines on dating apps. इसमें से almost कोई मर्द नहीं हंसा guys. Because you know what the other 50% are doing? They are writing those lines, pretending to be ChatGPT. Hope you guys enjoyed this segment. Yes, अगर पसंद आया हो, you can also follow me on Instagram, okay? Vikram Podar Comedy. Just saying, follow करने में कोई taxes नहीं लगते हैं, okay? And once again, can we have a round of applause for Moneycontrol? Like, report this whole show together. Thank you.
On that note, Vikram Pradhan, Pranjal, Kamra, thank you so much. All right, on that note, it's time to say bye-bye and also close our budget coverage this year. It's been quite a day. We've been coming to you non-stop from 7:30 in the morning to about 9 o'clock at night. It's been a long, long day here at Moneycontrol. I hope you enjoyed every bit of information, every bit of detailing that we've managed to bring to you. We will continue with our coverage on the other side as well, take you through all the key highlights of the day. For now, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.